Welcome to the tutorial on Class B output stage. In the Class B output stage, the transistor that we are using is biased at 0 DC current. So thus the transistor will conduct for 1/2 the cycle of the input sine wave, which will result in a conduction angle of 180 degree. So as you can see, this is the collector current waveform which is plotted, and the output current, that is the collector current, conducts only for 1/2 of the cycle, where IC cap corresponds to the peak value of the collector current. So 1/2 corresponds to the conduction angle of 180 degree. To better understand, let us look into the waveforms representing the class B. So you can see that in this particular case, the Q point is located at the cutoff region. This is the Q point which is located at the cutoff region. So the output signal will vary over 1/2 of the input signal. So only for 1/2 of the input signal the output will vary. So that is why we can see that the collector current flow is only for 180 degree. And what we have seen previously here as IC cap is represented as IC max in this case. And the same thing has been illustrated here. You can see the waveform corresponding to the input current IB, the output current IC, and the voltage VCE. One interesting part of the class B is that because 1/2 of the input cycle is equal to 180 degree of the signal, so if we make use of two class B operations, we can produce an output positive half cycle and another to provide operation on the negative half cycle. So the combined half cycles can then provide us an output of full 360 degree. And this type of connection is called as the push-pull configuration, which we will study in the further tutorial. So as you can see, the circuit consists of a complementary pair of transistors, an NPN transistor and a PNP transistor, which is connected in such a way that both cannot conduct simultaneously. The NPN transistor is denoted with QN and PNP transistor is denoted with QP. So we are going to analyze this particular circuit for three different cases: when input is 0, when input goes positive, and when input is negative. And the applied input voltage is denoted as VI here. So the first case, when the input voltage is 0, that is VI is equal to 0, both the transistors will be in the cutoff, that is QN and QP will be in the cutoff, and the output voltage will be equal to 0. The second case, when the input is positive and exceeds beyond a value of 0.5 volt, what happens is that this transistor QN will conduct and operate as an emitter follower. So the output voltage will follow the input, and I can write the equation for output voltage as Vout to be equal to Vi minus VBEN. The reason because I mentioned that Vi exceeds the value of 0.5 volt. I am considering the value of VBEN to be equal to 0.5 in that case. So that is why in general, if I am going to write the equation, it is going to be Vout is equal to Vi minus VBEN for the case when the input goes positive. So that is why in this case QN will supply the load current IL. And at the same time, what happens is that the emitter base configuration of QN is reverse bias by VB of QN, which is equal to 0.7 volt. So that is why what happens is that the transistor QP will be in cutoff. Now let me consider the third case, when input goes negative. So again, when input goes negative by more than 0.5 volt, QP turns on and acts as an emitter follower. Again, the output voltage will follow the input, but in this case output voltage will be equal to Vi plus VBEP, denoted as equation number 2. But in this case, the transistor QP supplies the load current and QN will be in cutoff. So the transistor in the case of the class B are biased at 0 current, will conduct only when input is present. So the circuit operates in push-pull fashion, that is, Q1 pushes or sources the current into the load when input voltage is positive, and QP pulls or sinks the current from the load when input is negative. That is why we refer to it as the push-pull complementary amplifier. Let us look into the transfer characteristics, which is a graph of input versus output. So there exists a range of input voltage which is centered around 0, and we can see that we had specified that if the voltage exceeds beyond 0.5 or less than 0.5, you can see that here we have the region between minus 0.5 and plus 0.5, and when the input is 0, output is also 0. When the input is between 0 to 0.5, it is 0. When it exceeds 0.5, what happens is you have a linear graph with a slope equal to 1, and when it exceeds greater than minus 0.5, again you have a linear graph with a slope equal to 1. Here this part is because of the transistor Qn, whereas here it is because of the transistor QP. So at 0, as you can see, the output voltage is 0 and both the transistors will be in the cutoff. Because we have a range from minus 0.5 to plus 0.5 to be the point where the output voltage is 0, this band is called as a dead band, which will result in the crossover distortion. So this effect of the crossover distortion is more when the amplitude of the input signal is small, and the maximum limit of the value in the negative direction is minus VCC plus VCE saturation because of the transistor QP, and the maximum value in the positive direction is VCC minus VCE saturation because of the transistor Qn. And one example of this dead band or the crossover distortion occurs in the audio power amplifiers, which will give rise to some of the unpleasant sounds. So in the next type of the output stage, that is the class AB, we will see how we can overcome the crossover distortion. So you can see the crossover distortion, which I have represented here, that is this dead band and this is the dead band. The time during which the crossover occurs and the interval between 0 to plus 0.5 and the interval between minus 0.5 to 0. So this is likely to happen because of this particular interval. So output voltage, as you can clearly see, is not exactly at pi. There is a little variation. It is little lesser than 0 to pi. Coming to computation of power conversion efficiency. Power conversion efficiency is computed considering that there is no crossover distortion present, and we compute the power conversion efficiency in the similar manner like the way we had computed for the class A, that is load power divided by the supply power, and the average load power is computed in the similar manner denoted as equation number 2. So we have the equation for the positive and the negative load power, which is equal to 1 by pi V naught cap divided by RL into VCC. So this total supply power will be the addition of PS plus PS minus, which gives us the equation number 4. And if you substitute equation number 4 and equation number 2 in equation number 1, we get the value of efficiency to be equal to pi by 4 V naught cap divided by VCC. And if we consider V naught cap to be equal to VCC, we have the value of efficiency to be equal to 78.5%. And the maximum efficiency is obtained when the peak value V naught cap is at its maximum, and the maximum value of V naught cap is limited by the saturation of the transistors Qn and Qp to VCC minus VCE sat, which will be equivalent to VCC. So in the case of the class B, the efficiency is greater than the class A and the maximum average power is obtained by substituting V naught cap is equal to VCC in equation number 2, which will give me a value of half VCC square divided by RL. In order to compute the power dissipation, the quiescent power dissipation is considered to be equal to 0. So when the input signal is applied, the average power that will be dissipated in the class B output stage, PD, will be equal to PS minus PL, and this is given as equation number 1. Now individually we know what is PS and what is PL, which we have seen in the equation for the power conversion efficiency, that is PS and PL. So that same equations have been repeated here, and on substituting these two equations in equation 1, we get equation number 2. Now from the symmetry, half of PD is dissipated in QN, that is transistor QN, and the other half is dissipated in transistor QP. So thus both the transistors QN and QP must be capable of safely dissipating half of the power dissipation PD. So since PD depends upon V out cap, which corresponds to the peak value of the output voltage, the worst case power dissipation PD max will be computed by differentiating the equation number 2 with respect to V out cap and equating this derivative to 0. So this will give V out cap, which results in the maximum average power dissipation. So what we have done is we have differentiated equation number 2 with respect to V out cap and equated it to 0. So we get the value of V out cap at maximum power dissipation PD max to be equal to 2 by pi into VCC, which we have named as equation number 3. Now substituting this equation number 3 in equation number 2, that is this particular equation, what we see is that PD max will be equal to 4 VCC square divided by pi square into RL minus 2 VCC square divided by pi square into RL, which gives us a value of 2 by pi VCC square divided by RL. And this value of PD max will be equally divided between the N transistor and P transistor. So this becomes VCC square divided by pi square into RL if we are considering the maximum power dissipation in the individual transistor. So at the point of maximum power dissipation, the efficiency can be evaluated by substituting V out cap in the equation for efficiency, that is this particular equation, and we get the value to be equal to 50%. So what we can see is that increasing the output voltage beyond 2 VCC by pi decreases the power dissipation in class B while increases the load power, and the price paid is the increase in nonlinear distortion as a result of approaching the saturation region of the transistor QN and QP. So the transistor saturation flattens at the peak of the output sine wave, which is as shown in this particular figure. So at 2 VCC by pi you get an efficiency of 50%, whereas for a complete cycle, when V out cap, that is a peak value of output voltage, is equal to VCC, the efficiency is 78.5%. And the maximum value of power dissipation is obtained to be equal to 2 VCC square divided by pi square into RL. Now, as we mentioned, it is possible to reduce the crossover distortion, and to reduce the crossover distortion of the class B stage, what we do is that we employ a high gain op-amp and the overall negative feedback, which is shown in the figure. So this particular circuit is the same as that of the complementary push-pull amplifier. What we have done is we have included an op-amp with a negative feedback. Negative feedback because the negative or the inverting input terminal is connected to the output stage. Now plus or minus 0.7 volt deadband is reduced to plus or minus 0.7 divided by A0 volt where A0 corresponds to the DC gain of the op-amp. If you see, we had considered there the deadband to be plus or minus 0.5 volt, but actually if you consider a silicon transistor, the VB voltage is equal to 0.7. So that is why they have mentioned here to be equal to 0.7 volt to be the deadband. The sleeve rate limitation of the op-amp causes the alternate turning off and on of the output transistors, especially at high frequencies. So this is one of the practical method for reducing or eliminating the crossover distortion, and this is found mainly in the class AB stage. So moving on, let us see how a single supply operation of a complementary push-pull amplifier will look like. You can see here the class B stage can be operated from a single power supply, where this power supply is of 2 VCC and the load is capacitively coupled. The formula for power dissipation is directly applicable, similar to the one which we have derived earlier. So there is no much change, it's just that the supply voltage is changed to 2 VCC here, and the other end of the transistor QP is grounded, and output voltage is measured across the load. So to eliminate the crossover distortion, the best output stage is the class AB stage, which we will look into the next tutorial.